Okay, and we're live. And Chris?
Good evening.
Yep, we can hear you. How's everybody doing today?
Oh, my Sunday evening activity dropped out, so it's like good. I get a chance to be with you guys.
Yeah, my Sunday was a day off that turned into me working all day, which was also my Thursday was a day off that ended up with me working all day. So, yeah, and the week before I worked 6 days that week. So I have had very little time.
Have you gotten more responsibilities lately?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully more money goes with that.
No, I hope so. That's the only reason, get bills to pay, so you got to work.
I've been spending a good part of my day in snow removal, although it's so wet, it's been like falling slush. So
yeah, it was. Oh dang, it was like 70 degrees the last couple of days here. During the day. The night it gets a little cooler, like 50, but no snow.
What part of Louisiana are you in?
I am in the northern part of the state, the northeastern part of the state. I am in Monroe.
Okay. I've been to a pulp mill there when I was working. I think that was Baton Rouge, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's northern part of the state, I know.
Well, Baton Rouge is, more in the southern part of the state. It's about 3 hours south of me.
And I must have been somewhere else, but I can't remember the name.
Yeah, it probably wasn't Baton Rouge. It was a big mill in the northern part of the state.
Georgia Pacific, sort of a paper mill.
Yeah. I'm not sure on that one. Yeah.
Sort of a paper mill.
Yeah, wrong button. Sorry. There we go.
It got a little feedback.
Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot I had the audio up on my phone there.
No, it's okay. It happens. I usually forget that I've got the stream unmuted most of the time when I start these things. Yeah, and a few people were already in the chat, including John. He was here about 45 minutes early. He saw me here and was wondering what I was doing. I was actually preparing for the stream. I got here a little early this time. A lot of times, I schedule these things, around my work schedule, and I'll get here like 5 minutes before the stream starts. And you guys can tell because the title of the stream will be something crazy. It'll be like the video I did before, or the thumbnail will be, something strange, or the audio won't be working. I actually got here early and made sure everything was working today. So,
radical.
Yeah. And John was also saying he did an Arch install, a successful Arch install. So congratulations on that. I've been seeing a lot more people trying Arch. Rocco over at Big Daddy installed Arch a couple of weeks ago, and he was able to get it up and running. I remember before he was attempting the install, he had mentioned he had tried it a few times and never could get it to work. I was like, yeah, it's not that hard. And Rocco has installed hundreds of Linux distros. Like you should be able to get Arch. It's like a 30-minute install, if that.
I had a laptop installation a couple years ago. I learned a lot, by installing it. It was very educational. I was only in it about a month,
Right.
But I learned a lot doing it. I think anyone who wants to sort of progress to something like intermediate, whatever that means, would do well to try and install and do it if they've got the time and the inclination.
And I would actually consider Arch kind of an intermediate kind of distro. As somebody that's played around with a lot of different Linux distributions, I can tell you there are things out there that are a lot more difficult to live in on a daily basis than Arch. Certainly a lot more difficult installs, but even just after the install, just living in it and maintaining it, there's distros out there that are a lot tougher than Arch to live in. So.
And I don't think you're required to use screen fetch and have an anime background to be on Arch.
No, just on Reddit. If you're on Reddit, then you have to have NeoFetch. You have to have the what's the terminal program that shows a flame, like a fire going on in your terminal. You also have to have some kind of terminal music player with an equalizer, you know. So.
There you go. I've been fooling around. The default music player in the Fedora, let's see, in the Cinnamon, the XFCE installations from Fedora, I was kind of disappointed. I tried to do a streaming radio stream that was high quality, and it stuttered pretty badly. So I went back to Music on Console and VLC for doing that kind of stuff, and just installed Praga. But otherwise, you know, everything's great.
Yeah, I'm one of these people. I typically find something that works and stick to it, oddly enough, other than, obviously, I try out a lot of distros, but mainly for purposes of this channel. But like, you know, I've mentioned my web browsers, Firefox. It's because I've been using it, you know, 2 decades, if you count Netscape, going back to the really mid-90s. You know, you find something that works. Same thing with media players, multimedia players, VLC. I just stick to it. Here lately, I've been playing with email clients, oddly enough. Thunderbird, I've been using Thunderbird again forever. And we've got so many of these email clients on Linux. Some of them I've never looked at. I have no idea if they work. So just to play around with, I installed 3 or 4 different email clients in the last couple of weeks just to check them out, see how easy it is to set up email and how feature-rich some of these programs are. And they're all really bad. Like, Thunderbird is definitely the best email client we have as far as free and open source software. None of them come close.
It is, and it was put up against Outlook Express and Windows too. And surprisingly enough, if you were using Windows, you can port all your email that you have saved all the way over to Linux. I have some documents that are from 2005 in my Thunderbird.
Yeah,
Did you try Evolution?
Evolution, I did not try, although I should. Yeah.
Some of the other guys like that one.
Yeah, Evolution, the one thing that puts me off with Evolution, why I didn't even think about it, is because it's always...
Some of the other guys like that one.
Yeah, when I install GNOME, for example, you know, Evolution is a part of the GNOME desktop, and you can't even get rid of it, and that's kind of always turned me off to that sort of thing. So I probably should try Evolution.
Evolution is a part of the GNOME desktop, and you can't even get rid of it.
Okay, so we got some feedback coming through somewhere.
I probably should try it.
K-Pax. Mute that. Okay. I tried, what did I try? I tried Claw's Mail. That's horrible. I tried Geary. Geary looks good. I like the interface. But there's very few features in it. Like, there's no, like, contacts or anything like that. You can't, like, sync a contact list from, like, your mobile device or anything like that. There's no kind of functionality for that. What else did I try? Kmail is not good.
Well, my first Linux distribution was Linux Mint, you know, back, I guess it was 17. It's still running on the family desktop. And when I installed Thunderbird, it was so easy. It was almost completely automated. And been using it for now, I don't know, 5 years with no hiccups at all.
Yeah,
Thunderbird is really good.
Yeah. I used Evolution when I had Ubuntu Mate, but on my new machine, I just couldn't get it to work. Probably because I switched to KDE and iFree, and that, I think, sort of disturbed GNOME, the keyring that stored all the configuration, so I had to type in my password all the time. It got annoying, so I just switched to Thunderbird, and seems all right.
Yeah. And in the chat, Hink mentioned that Evolution is the best email client because it supports Exchange. For those that are interested in Exchange, Evolution supports it.
Microsoft-based servers with Microsoft Exchange, then okay. But if you have that, you're probably on Windows. So
probably, you would think.
You
but
use Outlook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of divorced from Windows, so I don't care about anything that attaches to it.
Yeah.
I still live in it a lot, but currently thankfully, Manjaro does the business for me.
Manjaro is what you're on these days?
Yeah, last week I said I'm going to change, and it was trouble.
Manjaro,
probably took me 1 day to make it work. And all because of my stupid 1050 Ti.
Really? The graphics card was the problem? Because I've got a 1060 and I had no problems getting like the drivers installed. I'm assuming that's the problem. Was the
problem was I couldn't even get the whole environment, the live environment working.
Yeah, I couldn't help him do that.
Hi, Ben.
Hi, guys.
What desktop environment?
We tried.
Basically,
we tried to get XFCE, GNOME, anything. We couldn't get it to work.
Yeah, that's strange.
Only thing that worked was Architect, and even after that, I couldn't make it work without using Intel drivers. I couldn't use Architect-based Nvidia drivers or the Nuevo drivers that Architect installed. So I had to install without any graphics drivers and then configure them myself.
That's the stupidest thing.
Yeah, because usually when I install Manjaro, I mean it already installs the Nuvo drivers for my Nvidia card. Then I have to go back and install the proprietary drivers, but by default, the Nuvo drivers are going to be there and everything should be working. That's strange. You just got a black screen when you
just got a blank screen on the desktop.
Nuvo drivers Nuvo drivers on this card don't work. I know that.
Yeah, newer Nvidia GPUs, from my experience at least, do not play well with Nvidia.
Yeah, but I actually got help from the Manjaro forum, which is actually really, really nice because I never actually trust forums or like to ask there because
there can be some elitist buttholes in there.
Yeah, but Manjaro forum, I believe is quite good, and the guy that helped me,
Manjaro is what you're on these days?
Yeah, basically helped me through the whole ordeal.
I must ask, why is everybody using Nvidia cards?
Manjaro.
Because they're better for the most part.
I have an ATI card, and it does all the gaming I want it to do.
Hold on.
1050 Ti. For me, it's basically
the graphics card was the problem because
we've got some feedback coming through somewhere.
Yeah, I'm getting voices all over my head.
It's been. We muted him for a second.
I use Nvidia card because you can't find AMD cards in laptops. That's main thing. And
okay. I can accept that reason.
And even otherwise, even if I had desktop, I would use Nvidia card because they're actually way better. Like if you take same price, Nvidia and AMD cards, Nvidia cards go way better in multiple scenarios. If you have only Linux, yeah, sure, you might be better off with high-end Vega 64, but if you're using both Windows and Linux, AMD is just not an option as a graphics.
Even I only use Linux, but still, what you just said, dollar for dollar, the Nvidia cards are just better.
Yeah.
And it's really not even close yet. It's getting a little better.
I don't see the difference myself.
Yeah, you will when you start rendering video and doing things that really tax the GPU. You see a big difference.
Yeah, you do. I mean, honestly, you're better off bang for the dollar, get an NVIDIA graphics card.
Yeah. The only reason a lot of Linux folks are now starting to jump on the AMD bandwagon is
open source drivers.
Because of the drivers. Me and Big Pod just talked about fighting with the proprietary drivers with NVIDIA.
Because it's cheap.
Yeah. You don't have to do that with AMD, but it's still not quite worth it for me. I'll fight with the proprietary drivers as long as I get a better experience. For now. So once it gets a little closer, I may hop to AMD. So.
Yeah, I don't hate AMD. It's just I've never had good luck with them Linux-wise. Never.
I have an ATI card, RT 580 with 8 RAM on it.
Yeah, AMD graphics never played well.
It plays well with every distro I've run through it, and I've never had to fight with it.
Well, then you're lucky, dude. That's all.
Yeah. It's always the people that have AMD cards I hear complain about them, because when I bought all the parts for the system, I told the guy at Micro Center, this is going to be a Linux machine. Everything's going to play with it, right? And he gave me all stuff that he guaranteed would work with just about any Linux distro.
Now, you will have problems for those of you that have old machines. If you've got old AMD cards, there are no drivers out there for it.
Old ones.
Forget old AMD stuff. It's rubbish.
Yeah.
It really is rubbish.
Now that I can buy.
Yeah.
It's not just rubbish. You won't find a driver for it. I mean, it's worthless. So
I have an AMD card in my older desktop. It's pain to deal with even on Windows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had an old AMD system, like a Phenom 2X4, something like that. It was a great system, don't get me wrong. The problem was it didn't. I tried, for example, playing the old Knights of the Old Republic game from 2003 on it. Good luck on Linux. I mean, back then, wine wasn't as great, but wine has improved.
In the chat, Mugen is asking, how old is old? When I'm talking about those old AMD cards that don't even have drivers anymore, that you won't even find a driver.
You're talking about 4000 series and older.
Yeah.
208.
Anything that isn't
anything that's like
RTX
8 years old.
Vega, that's
right.
Anything non-RX series.
RX or Vega is old.
Right.
And this
RX or Vega is modern, but not anything like the 4X, 5X, 6X, whatever, anything like that.
R7s and stuff like that.
Then you're probably talking 10 years. Well, 8 to 10 years.
That sounds about right.
10 years old, Garth. Yeah.
I can tell that even R5, which is a quite new card, is actually.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So anything that isn't RX or Vega is problems.
Yeah.
And I see people sometimes in like support channels asking about support for those old AMD cards, and they complain that it's Linux's fault, I guess, that they don't have a driver for these older cards. It's not a problem with our operating system. I mean, AMD doesn't support it.
Sorry, guys. What I find really annoying about the whole AMD thing was back in the day, and quite a few years ago, AMD were, certainly because I'm on Arch, they were absolutely rule of the roost. And the graphics and being able to do stuff within Arch on an AMD graphics driver was absolutely incredible. And it was almost like you fell off the cliff. They just dropped everything, and that was it. Yep. You were hung, drawn, and quartered, and all of a sudden, your graphics on your Dell computer or whatever was absolutely fantastic, and then it just went. And it was rubbish, and it was really crap. And I just went, because I had a Dell PC, and it ran for ages with Arch on it, and it was running games. I mean, it wasn't a very serious high-end computer, but it ran games and whatever. And then all of a sudden, one day, it just went, no.
Yeah. Overnight, they decided we're not supporting it anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
thanks, Derek. Yep.
Overnight. Well, it's like, okay, well, what do I do with my card that's basically a paperweight now? Just.
I was talking to, you guys probably know Midfinger, Dan, who died, a few years ago. And Dan and I were close friends. And I remember sending him a thing on Arch, and we were talking about, running AMD stuff and having whatever. And I sent him a email one day, And about 3 days later, that email didn't work because AMD dropped support completely.
Yeah.
End of. And it was really, really crap.
It's kind of
I
weird.
feel like the caveman because I'm just using the video off the motherboard.
That's really strange because it's like everybody talks about their CPUs are like the preferred ones to use.
Well, I've never had a CPU that was a problem in Linux.
No, CPUs are easy. Yeah,
I mean, heck, we even got distros now that support ARM. I mean,
I'm just trying to clear up some rumors that are floating around everywhere.
Yeah.
It makes the new Linux user kind of really, what should I buy?
And that stuff is taken care of at the kernel level. You're not going to have a CPU that just doesn't work unless you've got something really strange. I've never heard of anybody that said their CPU didn't work in Linux. So
for the desktop, everything works because it's only Intel or AMD. But if you go more exotic, like mobile chips, like ARM or MIPS, those might not work on some distros.
Well, the distro, has to have an image for it, but a lot of the bigger distros now have ARM images.
Yeah.
I think
Arch, we just mentioned Arch has an ARM.
Set.
Yeah.
You're right.
Oh, it's totally different.
Different architecture.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. You have x86 that is made by Intel or AMD. Then you have ARM that is made mostly by ARM and Qualcomm, and nowadays by Apple and Samsung. And also you have some other really small types that aren't used a lot, except in some smaller, like now IoT devices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, something that need to be aware of is that the new Dells, the 54, the Latitude, 5490s are coming out, and you can only boot them through UEFI. So
the part that's actually not that bad because UEFI is a lot better than BIOS, our boss.
I assume that's a Microsoft thing.
Yeah,
no, it isn't. UEFI is not even close to Microsoft.
It's a hardware.
No. Are they dictating?
Because Microsoft ships on
UEFI?
it.
Yeah. No, it's not actually.
No, they are. They are dictating you have UEFI.
As far as I'm aware, no, and I'm actually really on that side of the fence. Like hearing, as far as I know, they're actually not, because a lot of their customers have biases. Like
I kind of disagree with this. I do think they are dictating on this one.
What I think Dell wants to do is because they don't want to make support for BIOS because it actually makes them more work.
Yeah,
because actually,
who are Dell associated with?
Anyone?
Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's every OEM though. I mean, they all are.
They actually, you don't understand that makes them like a lot of work. Basically, they need to support twice as much code than would have to, and half of that code is old as, sorry for the word, DT fuck, and the other half is like new, shiny, and hell of a lot better, more secure, and the other half is full of bugs, full of problems, and doesn't support half of the stuff they want to do with the system. Basically, for example, NVMe don't work with BIOSes almost. They have to like implement them specifically, and it takes a lot of work.
Okay.
I know I have talked with some system integrators about how this stuff works. So I know it's basically twice the amount of code, twice the amount of data, and twice or maybe more amount of money that you have to spend.
I'm sorry, Big Paul. I just don't trust the big boys, really, to be honest.
That's your problem, basically, because
yeah. Well,
Wait.
The problem is a lot of people's problems. That's the thing. And
hey, Garth, when you say you don't trust the big boys, are you talking about big
Microsoft.
OEMs like Dell, or are you talking about Microsoft? Okay, I wanted to clarify. Okay.
Yeah.
But at that point, how can you trust anyone? Is my question to you.
Well,
How can you trust
two,
Joe Blow?
There's Microsoft and there's Apple, and those are the two big ones.
Yeah, but the reality is you can't trust anyone but yourself. And even yourself you can trust. The problem I have with whole Linux community and open source community is that they think if someone checked it, it's okay. That they can trust some other code.
No, it's not that it's okay necessarily.
Because
but the fact that somebody can check it is definitely better than if nobody could, is the thing.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not like we're going to catch everything, but at least there's a possibility we could catch it. You know,
possibility.
Because you've 100,000 people looking over the code, and they're going to pick something out. This is not how the big guys work.
I always like to say at this point when people say how people check it. Look at Heartbleed. Everyone was checking the code.
Yeah.
Millions of people. Actually, I've checked the numbers. Over the years, millions of different eyes looked over that specific file. And guess what? Nobody found the huge bug that was making basically whole internet vulnerable and problematic for anyone. Basically, that one was leaking SSL keys, SSL encryption keys to anyone who just knew how to exploit it. And that was a bug that was made by someone.
Was that?
Oh, quite a few years. But that bug was in for 4 years.
Yep.
And then somebody accidentally, and when I say accidentally,
find the flaw. Correct.
You know what I say? You know when I say accidentally, I mean he could have known it for the whole time, but he just decided to give it up then because he got enough out of it, and he didn't want anyone else to get from it.
Well, that often happens. Somebody finds an exploit and they figure they can profit from it, so they use it for a little while, and then when they're done with it, they don't want anybody else to use it. So then they'll tell everybody about it.
Let me tell you a bit of a joke. You know what hackers do when they find an exploit into the system? They exploit it, and when they get in, they fix the problem.
Right.
That's actually a really big practice by programmers and hackers. They get in, fix the problem, and stay in. Why? Because that means only they can exploit it.
Or we have this bounty system now where, you know, they find an exploit and expect to get paid, you know. And then, you know, this big process that can take months to get paid.
Yes, sometimes no. Sometimes decided it's not the bug that it's worth being paid off. It's like you have to put in everyone so much trust. It's not even worth trusting anyone at that point. If you're trusting someone, you are a fool and should get exploited.
And you guys know that I do the weekly Thursday show, Taking Into Account. And here in the past, I don't know, 6-8 weeks, it seems like every week I've mentioned a new security story that involves some kind of compromised package in somebody's repos. And it's always they're mining for Bitcoin or Monero or some of these cryptocurrencies. So you guys might want to fire up HTOP and see what processes are running, because this is becoming like there's like 2 or 3 new ones every week. It's weird how this is really blown up, and it's all surrounding people trying to mine for cryptocurrency.
Even though they don't work, it damn crap.
What's the
the only way to make it work is to the only way to effectively mine for cryptocurrency that's cost effective is to do what they're doing, take over other people's machines. So that's why they do it.
I buy huge rigs that are just ridiculous.
That's still something I totally don't understand, really, how the mining works. I mean, I understand the idea behind the cryptocurrency, but you know, I remember buying a graphics card one time and it mentioned mining cryptocurrency, but I still didn't totally understand what was going on.
Basically, those who mine, they check the transaction. Basically, they check the hashes of the transactions if they are actually correct and if the transaction actually took place. And that's what's called mining. And while that is happening, that one who first completes the block gets most money or something like that. I know Professor talked about this, and I was half asleep.
I've never done it myself, but it involves a lot of CPU cycles and GPU cycles. Basically, because of the energy involved in it, it's not worth it. You actually are going to spend more money than what it's worth getting that cryptocurrency, unless you're doing what these people are doing, taking over other people's machines and using their CPU.
There are places it's actually worth it. Basically, if you in some countries, it's actually on what kind of electricity they produce and how close you are to the electricity factory. And the other thing is, it's not actually worth doing with the graphics cards. It's better to buy some, for most of it, better to buy some like A6 miners, because it basically what it's doing is a small job over and over.
Right.
And
A6 there are dedicated machines.
Better.
Yeah, there are dedicated machines that are built specifically just to mine for cryptocurrency.
Well, if these people can actually infect a server, that's a tremendous amount of horsepower there for mining.
Not exactly. If it's GPU or if it's GPU based, yeah. But if it's CPU based, not so much, because CPUs aren't nearly as good at these tasks as GPUs, and it's like
the reason graphics card prices are so high, the reason your Nvidia 1080 is the same price as a down payment on a car right now is because
these people are buying.
Yeah, it's because that card is so good at mining for Bitcoin. There's a demand for it, so the price,
It was funny there. I was watching. I was watching a crypto miner, and I think it was last week. And I couldn't get over the size of rig that this person had. He even had cooling in his room or whatever, just to mine coins. And I thought, I mean, this guy is sitting on the computer to get coin. I mean, oh, Jesus God.
Well, I've seen these people with these elaborate setups with these server racks, with all these Nvidia cards on it. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You've got like $5,000 worth of equipment. And you're hoping you're gonna
job.
Right.
Why? To be told, why do you need a job if you basically do nothing and get money?
You can just assemble the rig and let it do its job. You don't need you're just pretty much administering the rig.
Right. I can understand you got a server, it's running
every
actually
day, how it's doing, and that's it.
I was once in a whole warehouse basically filled with shipping pallets of rigs of computers that were just mining, like 18 graphics cards at once in a single system. Mining
18?
Yeah, 18. 1x PCIe slots. Just not enough to send commands small. It's basically racks of shipping pallets.
I've got to ask, how do you connect 18 graphics cards? I mean,
you have this special
cable.
Expansion board.
Yeah, there are special
an extension cord.
Right. The special motherboards that have 18 PCIe X1 slots.
Yeah.
You then have cables specifically made for that to basically plug in the cable into the 1x part of
because I've got I've got my mid-tower case here, and I open this thing up, and I'd have a hell of a time getting a second card in that. How are you getting 18 cards into anything?
Those are like really, really, really big boards with like just think about 1/3 or even 1/4 of that PCIe slot you have, and think about 18 of them on there.
Yeah,
that's 1/4 of that slot, 18 of them, and that's basically what they have. And they plug in, and that's it. Nothing special.
Gotta have a monster power supply on that too.
They have like
Yeah,
I remember on one of the rigs, one of the racks, that was one PC is one shipping pallet is one PC. He had 3 or 4 PSUs.
Yeah, could you plug them into separate PSUs each? Multiple graphics. Yeah,
I believe he has four graphics cards for a single
4 graphics
PSUs.
cards? What? What kind of graphics cards? Yeah, Nvidia graphics cards?
Yeah, Nvidia.
Yeah.
Bitcoins in 4K.
4 or 5. I don't know exactly.
Hey,
What was
Robert
he
in the
running
chat.
off the grid?
Yeah, Robert in the chat is 18 PCI slots. Did I buy the wrong motherboard? Yeah, apparently so. We all bought the wrong. I don't know how you get 18 slots. So.
I have a System 76 Survival, and I thought the power supply for it is big. I mean, it's about this size. It's huge. But these guys are running PCs and stupid racks of stuff that is ridiculous.
Basically,
just to do this mining stuff, and this is what's pushed up the prices of Nvidia graphics cards and all the other stuff, which is ridiculous.
The crypto
still has a problem.
Yeah, the crypto miners really ran up the Nvidia cards.
Of course they did.
AMD as well.
And they really ran up the RAM prices, like the newer versions of RAM. It's just crazy expensive.
Problem with RAM is that basically there is actually a shortage of RAM available. Because that's partially because of the miners. Other part is because of the SSDs. Because people are so much buying SSDs, they can produce both at once because it's actually the same process, just a bit different output comes out, and that's actually one of the problems.
Yeah, RAM goes in all the tablets, phones, and everything else too. You combined all that into what?
Same with SSDs, basically flash.
All the flash cards. Yeah.
Same node is basically from phones to cameras to SD cards to your laptops. Basically, each laptop has at least one flash memory for UEFI to SSDs. Basically, everything runs on flash nowadays.
Well, I do remember when I was doing my Microsoft certifications back in NT4.
Oh, good God! How long ago was that?
One of the biggest things that it said was, we can support 10 monitors. I'm thinking, how many graphics cards are you using at that point?
4.
Windows NT. That's a long time ago.
For 10 monitors, that's I believe 4 graphics cards, or 3. Oh, for 4 is for 4K. 3 is required for 10.
Yeah, I mean, and we're running Pentiums at that point.
Yeah.
Wow.
That would have been fun.
Nowadays,
gigahertz, probably around about 2 gigahertz or something.
No, even less than that.
No,
I mean,
Pentium was it was less.
Maybe 800 megahertz.
Oh, yeah, wow, God, yeah.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah.
Yep.
I actually saw basically a screen that was made of 16 monitors. 4 quadros were running it. It's actually like each monitor was 4K.
Now, there are actually a lot of people out there that do run, those kinds of, 12 or 15, 16 monitor kind of setups. Those are people that have to have a whole lot of information in front of them all the time. It's usually stock brokers, where they have to have, all that information. And as for a normal person, obviously 16 monitors is ridiculous. Right.
Unless you really want to have a good field of view on WoW.
Yeah.
It won't help a lot.
Derek, I just want to say to you, your new microphone, unbelievable.
Yeah, I love it. I appreciate it.
It's brilliant. It really is good.
Yep.
Compared to the other one.
I hated the other one. The other one sounded okay. And then I didn't hate the other one due to the sound, but
it was great. Yeah, it was fun.
I had some real issues with that microphone. That microphone was shorting out all the time, like just the slightest vibe. Oh, I hated it. And like now, look, I can move things, and look, Pulse Audio still working.
Same microphone, Derek. I haven't had an issue yet with it, but
OBS didn't crash. So
I'm not flexing that cord a whole lot because.
Yeah, be careful with the Blue Yetis because I'm not the only one that has had that issue. A lot of people, on YouTube use the Blue Yeti as a very popular mic, and I've had other people tell me that they have similar issues. Maybe not as bad as I had it. I had it pretty bad.
Well, Logitech bought the whole Blue Corporation.
Really? I did not know that.
Yes, they bought it in the middle of the summer.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is not a USB mic, so I don't have that problem with the USB port. This is an XLR mic, and Blue
USB ports are so bad.
Yeah, and Blue makes like professional mics, XLR like really high end. Like this thing costs $400. This isn't even close to their top of the line mics. I mean, Blue makes one called the Bottle Rocket or something that's like $3,000, $4,000, something crazy for like professional musicians and things like that. This is the baby bottle.
Derek, how much is the stand as an extra? The stand for the mic. How much?
Now this stand was the one I'd been using. It's the Rode PSA 1. It is the only swivel arm anybody needs to buy. Don't buy anything else. You're buying an inferior product. The Rode PSA 1.
How much are you talking?
100 US.
Oh, that's okay. So you're talking about 75. Well, you're probably talking 100 pounds actually when you convert.
It's sturdy. I mean, it's built like a tank, and it would hold that Blue Yeti. And if you've ever handled the Blue Yeti, that thing is heavy. It's probably the heaviest mic you're gonna get.
It's a Rode what?
Rode PSA 1. Here, I'll type it in the chat.
I think I've seen the box behind you. Matter of fact, it is behind you. PSA.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. PSA 1.
Mine looks pretty cheesy, and I'm expecting it to fall apart.
So I still have the PSA 1. I just I unscrewed the Blue Yeti, screwed the baby bottle here onto it, which is a great name for a mic, the baby bottle.
I was thinking about getting the Heil Pro 90, but I mean that's more for my radio than for doing anything on YouTube.
Yeah.
Guys, can I ask a question?
Okay.
To System D or not to System D?
I don't care. People ask me this all the time.
Here's the thing. There have been quite a few videos of late on YouTube regarding distros that are not using System D. A Devuan from Debian.
Arctics with Arch,
which I'm actually using at the minute.
It's a nice distro.
I'm actually struggling kind of with the because I'm used to System D. The trouble with Arch is that it is completely System D based. This is kind of the problem. And I was actually thinking of building my own Arch system not based on System D. And the great thing about it is that you walk away, you shut things down, and it stops completely. Mm-hmm. You don't have stop jobs, you don't have anything.
Right.
And I've just got fed up with System D. However, there are a few problems. Primarily, I'm having problems with printer stuff, aka cups. I can't get cups running properly. Although I think I might have because, I sort of just
when you say you can't get it
printer before
you can't get it running. Are you talking about like the daemon running in the background or what?
Yeah, well, I mean, the System D doesn't actually shut down stuff properly. You get this 1 minute 29 seconds or whatever, and it's stupid.
Yeah, it is stupid.
Whereas init or run it or RC systems that are not based on System D shut down like poof. Like
yeah, but I wouldn't be so that's actually a good thing. Because actually that might not be a good thing. That is
how is it not a good thing? You know, you walk away from your computer and you expect it to shut down.
Yeah, but they are
yeah, and you come back in and there's still this something going on. So how is it not a good thing?
Right. Because maybe that software needs a particular
no, it's nothing to do with software. It's to do with System D. System D is
I never had problems. And to be told, a lot of people don't know, but some software requires specific exit protocol, specific exit how to stop the program to actually correctly stop. And
you know
that can be a problem, especially in professional environments.
Let me ask you guys.
System D should stop those processes in the background.
Have you guys noticed here recently? I've noticed this in a few distros recently that I've tried out, especially like the 1810 Ubuntu flavors. Have you guys noticed updates when you shut down or reboot the system? Like you reboot and you get an update, kind of like you do in Windows, and it's strange.
Been there for a long time.
It's funny, Derek, you're saying that because I'm using Ubuntu Studio, and I got that too, which is really strange.
That's actually there for a long time. I remember
I've never seen it until
1704. I got that as well.
Okay, well, I stick to LTS releases. That's probably why I didn't see it.
And and I believe actually I also saw it in my VM of 1604.
Yeah.
It's actually something that's been there probably for way longer than on Windows. Basically,
I thought my machine had been taken over. I was like, there is no way. I shut down the machine and I'm getting an update. I was like, what kind of Microsoft Windows BS?
A way to stop it, the unattended upgrades, but I don't remember where.
My machine had something really funny like that too. I shut it down and it went through the shutdown process. The screen went blank, but the CPU and everything just kept on running. It wouldn't completely turn off.
That's a stop job.
Ubuntu Mate.
That's what it does.
If the screen turned off, that could be an error in BIOS or UEFI, because sometimes actually your CPU wasn't running. It was the cooler, and that could be because BIOS doesn't do the whole shutdown process correctly. It's all based on somehow OS does it and stuff like that. It's like could be from operating system or could be from UEFI/BIOS.
I did this once.
Yeah. I suspect it might be the distro itself. I've tested.
It does strange things.
I've tested distros before that when you go to shut down, they don't shut down properly. Like you have to power off the machine. Now, it's, the big distros are usually, but like Joe Bob's garage distro that he put together with two of his buddies. Yeah, sometimes they don't shut down properly.
They actually sometimes even make System D do funny stuff.
Okay, Derek, I got a question about this boom arm here. How does it attach to your desk?
It can clamp on it if you've got enough space. It'll come with like a C clamp that you tighten down, or if you have a wooden desk and you don't mind drilling, you can drill a hole and it will fit in that, and there's a nut that tightens it onto the desk. So it's got two different methods depending on how you want to do it. The clamping is probably
Amazon has that boom arm marked down to $68.49 right now.
Yeah, that's a steal because that's a lot cheaper than I paid.
I think I'm going to buy.
How have you got it attached to your system, Derek? I mean, do you
I've got it clamped.
Desk?
Yeah, it's clamped to the edge of the desk.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
On the previous note about the system D and shutting down, my system, the current one I use, the laptop, shuts down in probably in 10 seconds or maybe less. I use system D and just shuts down completely, probably not even 10 seconds.
The only time I've had long shutdowns is if I've done something a little odd or different with a a thumb drive or whatever.
Yeah.
And even though the shutdown screen is hidden, there's a stop job or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always 1 minute, 29 seconds. Yes. And it's really weird.
That must be some really weird process of yours. I remember even my server where I have a lot of server stuff, server service. I don't get stop jobs. And if I do, they're from services that require specific shutdown sequences, like server software, which is like quite important that it saves correctly and stuff like that, because it could get some problems.
Yeah.
I get stop jobs, but that's what I actually want, because
that's probably what some of the folks that
the processes it could actually lose data.
Right. And the people that we're talking about that were having a problem with shutting down, sometimes it'll just hang or whatever. It's probably a stop job that got boogered somewhere.
I've found that.
Yeah.
Too.
I only get them very frequently, and I use all systemd systems.
Yeah.
Still high up to now, but now I'm running Arctic's Arch systemd list as well as Void. And
Void's great.
It's just the commands are really strange, because I'm trying to work out how to actually initiate systems without systemd, and it's really weird, because you have to sort of look into the stuff, and it's not the same commands that you're used to with systemd. And
and also
it's a new learning process for me.
Also, the documentation for run it. It's not quite there, to be honest.
No, exactly. I agree.
You go to Void's website and there's nothing there.
There's huge gaps of stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Are you shutting down from the? You shutting down from the GUI or from the command line?
Sorry.
Yeah, are you shutting down from the GUI or the command line?
Either
are you
or,
doing
doesn't
shutdown?
matter. I mean, the command line or the just shutting off is fine. I mean, this is the great thing about init systems. Like Run It or OpenRC or whatever. They just shut down like that instantaneously, within a second. It's brilliant.
Here I got to interject. I was once working on a project not long ago that was actually using distro that wasn't using systemd, and actually we had problems because it was a server. We lost.
He was using a Slackware server, right?
So. I don't know what it was. I was not there for that part. I know the guy was some Linux enthusiast. He wanted everything done by his standards, and he was actually hating systemd. It's actually the first time I met someone who hated systemd, and I was there because we needed system recovery, because they lost a lot of data because systems and software that was running the server software just basically canceled processes in the middle of operation, and they lost a lot of data because of that. So in important environments, stop jobs are actually necessary, because you actually can lose data if you just end the processes.
I understand, my pod. I understand what you're saying, and stop jobs are there for a reason. However, most of the time they don't stop, and this is the problem. You get the stop job, and sometimes they don't actually stop, and you sit there and you wait, and you get the 1 minute. It used to be, 90 seconds, and whoever came up with that figure, I have no idea. I mean, it should be about 20. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think you can cancel out of that with a keyboard shortcut.
You can, exactly. Yes.
One question. Just a really, really short question. Why are you sitting at the computer when it's shutting down? When I press the shutdown button, I go, or I actually even put down my laptop, put it in the back. It could be running all day and don't care. Because Once I press shutdown, the system goes down. 10 seconds
Or
down.
I understand, or I might want to shut down completely to make sure that something else is initiated rather than having to do a reboot, right? So it may require a complete another shutdown rather than doing a reboot. And you're sitting waiting for a shutdown and it's not happening.
You know, this is like the biggest thing that I hate about Linux in general, is that after 20 or something, I don't know how much years, Linux still has some flaws that Windows got rid of a long time ago. I never had a problem shutting down Windows. It may crash.
Windows has problems as well.
It may crash while shutting down, but it
will
do something.
Never saw shutdowns.
What are you talking about?
Windows has flinging bits across the internet here, guys.
I said it might crash while shutting down, but it will shut down.
Yeah, and something else, I never actually saw
most of the time it doesn't.
And something else, only time I see long shutdowns is on server.
No,
server
because Windows has when you initiate shutdown, it has a time limit before it forcefully shuts the process down.
Right.
Even if you have a hang process in the background, it will kill it.
Yeah, I actually work heavy on Windows system.
Wait. You guys that have Windows machines, you've never actually had to physically power off the machine because the machine wouldn't shut.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Okay, that's
only time I had to do it.
I was a pilot too.
You don't know if they have Bitcoin miners still running in the background.
You will get a message if some service or some program it actually doesn't want to shut down because it maybe does some important stuff, but it will also say why and how to correct the issue.
The last time you had to actually physically push the power off, but on a Windows machine, was in the age of 80 power supplies. You will get a message that says it's now safe to your machine.
Whoa, hang on. I have a Windows 10 machine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Are you listening? And I had to power it off physically, hard shut it down 2 days ago. So what are you talking about?
What was on the screen?
It wouldn't shut down. It was a black screen of death.
That could be your motherboard.
No, it's fine. It's perfectly fine.
That's what you think.
And that's Windows for you. It's still
Windows killed his motherboard.
Properly.
Actually, let me tell you.
Windows killed his motherboard.
I'm going to retitle this stream, Windows killed his motherboard.
Let me tell you something. Actually, the shutdown process is just...
Guys, you're shutting it down wrong.
Just an OS tells the motherboard to what to do in the motherboard, BIOS or UEFI does some shutdown sequences. If one of those shutdown sequences doesn't complete correctly, it will hang on black screen. It is a bit like
Can we get off Windows talk? Can we talk about Linux more a bit?
Well, I will say on System D, if the problem is, it takes 90 seconds for shutdown. That's a minor gripe. System D boots up lightning fast. I will say System D boots up faster than OpenRC, which is what Gen 2 and a lot of those alternative distros use. So there's that.
What's your? Can I ask you what's your what's your system of choice day to day?
It's been Manjaro for the past several months.
Right.
I'm using Fedora right now.
Right. Okay.
Both use System D. Before that, for my main production machine, I used Ubuntu 16.04 when I first started this channel.
Still like 16.04. Probably the best version of Ubuntu ever.
I didn't move to 1804. Stuck to 16.
Partnership. Don't go.
1810 is a lot better than 1604. I use 1604 on a server for quite some time, and I was actually scared of going to 1804 because 1604 was such a crap for me.
1810 was good only because the GNOME 3.3. Because GNOME, yeah.
Right.
GNOME.
Okay.
Of course, BigPod on a server is not using a graphical environment anyway. He's
for
mainly
the desktop, for the desktop, right. 1810 was a huge step just because they used the GNOME 3.3 and that.
I'm sorry, guys. I hate GNOME. I'm one of these people that hate GNOME.
I didn't say I like it. I just said
GNOME
that
is awesome.
GNOME drives me bad.
I like GNOME, but I've been learning how to use it differently using keyboard shortcuts instead of navigating with the mouse.
That's the thing. It is a keyboard-centric desktop.
But it's not a very good one.
The mouse.
To be honest, it's not a very good keyboard-centric desktop. It really isn't. Unity was better as far as being a keyboard-centric desktop. And guess what? If you're going to do everything on the keyboard, move to something like i3. You know, all these. There's 100 different tiling window managers. All they are is keyboard-driven. And you're going to get a much better experience out of that than trying to use GNOME as a keyboard-centric desktop.
I still haven't changed it from GNOME. Now my Manjaro has GNOME, and I'm still enjoying GNOME. And KDE is crap.
I've been trying not to talk about GNOME the last few weeks because I have been labeled a hater by certain people. I get comments and emails. I'm a GNOME hater. So
am I.
you can label me KDE hater because KDE.
I'm in your circle, Derek.
Yeah.
I don't hate GNOME. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, you got to use what works. Yeah.
Derek,
yes,
a couple weeks ago, I did a private apology for being negative on the chat. I now retract my apology.
Yeah,
because it's clearly.
Yeah, and I said you definitely weren't negative. I didn't notice anything negative, not compared to some of our usual people that show up.
I need to leave. I believe I have someone at the door.
Okay.
I'm negative towards KDE all the time.
I hope Dan wasn't offended by the negative comments.
I hate
nothing wrong with Plasma. Plasma's great.
Even though KDE had or have still some bugs, it seems like it uses less system resources than GNOME.
No. Of course it does.
I agree with that.
And it works better than GNOME, which is pretty surprising to me. I knew that KDE was always this kind of flashy, pretty kind of desktop for the whole Linux system. And GNOME was known to be the great memory hog or something. It always had some memory leak that pretty much hogged the system. So when I saw actual tests where show that KDE was running faster than GNOME 3.3, I was just surprised that I had to try it. So I installed the KDE on Ubuntu, and it does work better. When I finished the whole setup and restarted the PC, it used like 400 megabytes or something like that.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing that really annoys me. There's a memory imprint about Plasma 4, and it was an absolute complete RAM hog in its day.
It was horrible.
However, Plasma 5 is running just as fast, on RAM-wise. I can run Plasma 5 and XFC, and they're about the same on RAM usage. Near enough.
Here's the thing. You're going down a rabbit hole, though. So, GNOME boots and uses over a gig of RAM. Now you're getting Plasma and Mate down to 600 megs, 500 megs. Eventually, you're going to discover OpenBox boots up in a 200 megs, and then you're going to keep stripping away at things until you get, these.
I'm not.
Trust me, I'm there.
All I'm saying is that plasma is not as the RAM hog as it used to be.
It's not. It really isn't.
One question: why do you care about RAM since we got a huge
amount?
But
it shouldn't matter.
This is a good question.
It shouldn't.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter at all because
we have huge computers with lots of RAM.
32 gigs.
Exactly.
Most of us have 8 or even 6. So special of 32. Who the hell cares at the time?
Yeah.
Basically, if
I get that question all the time, and that's an easy answer. That for most people, it's not a concern. You got 16 gigs of RAM in your machine. You're not going to use it all, but I do. When I'm doing things like rendering video or running VMs, like I often do, I have to have as much RAM as I can get. Yeah. And if my desktop environment boots cold over a gig of RAM, GNOME, that is 800 megs more of RAM than what I would do if I was running something like OpenBox or i3.
That's normal for Windows too.
Right.
Windows 10 usually boots up in the area of, I don't know, 1100 or something like that.
Right. So if I've got multiple VMs running, for example, say I've got 2 or 3 VMs and I'm giving them all 4 gigs of RAM for whatever reason I'm doing this, I can't have my desktop environment on my host machine taking 1 gig of RAM, cold boot, with nothing going on. That's just I won't have it. So
my system, I can run 8 different VMs by 2 gigs.
Yeah, VMs don't really use, if you say give them like 4 gigs of RAM, they won't use 4 gigs. You will use it will dynamically allocate.
Really around 2.
That's why we have swap.
Hey, but here's the thing. What if your host machine has 4 gigs of RAM? Now we're really, hard pressed.
I had 3 gigs of RAM on my old laptop, and I used normally it works just okay, and I had a lot of crap running on there.
I would just say that it really would suck if you have to use virtual machines on a PC or a laptop that has only 4 gigs of.
Yeah.
Well, I was just giving for instance. He asked why does RAM matter? There's a lot of machines out there where it matters how much RAM your desktop's taking.
I agree for sure in the laptop space because I have a laptop right now that's running with 4 gigs of RAM, and so that's why I switched to Mate for my desktop environment. But I'm not completely opposed to GNOME. I just happen to, deal with it.
But you're using Ubuntu, Mate?
Yeah, I was using Ubuntu Mate.
Which is kind of heavy because it switched to GTK 3.
Yeah.
So it went from GTK 2 when it was really light. It stepped up its RAM usage. In fact, there is a guy on YouTube who designed a lot of the, wallpapers. And he used to use Mate, and he came away from it because it was kind of heavy. I don't know how you find it now, because XFCE is going GTK3 as well. So it's going to mean a whole pile of heavy stuff again.
Right.
So I don't know how you find it. Whatever.
I haven't had any issues with it personally for the last 3 versions.
Right. Okay.
But that's
guys,
just me.
How did I forget that I changed the show title? I need to change that back. I still got Windows killed his motherboard. People are going to
over that earlier.
One thing I used to use like a year ago. I had a laptop with 3 gigs of RAM, a dual core CPU, and I ran. I believe it was 1710. 1704. 1704 on it. Ubuntu with GNOME.
Yeah.
And it was running on a 3 gigs of RAM together with MySQL server, Apache server.
Server doesn't really do very much.
And a bunch of other crap. And I was also programming on it and doing some bunch of other shit. So believe me, even though it takes a lot of RAM, there still exists a thing called swap.
Swap's a waste of time.
No, it's not.
I think so. I think it's a waste of time.
It
What are you talking
depends.
about? Swap file or swap partition?
That's what we need. I don't do a swap partition. I could do a swap
Me
file.
neither. I do a swap file.
Yeah.
Because
I just don't think it's a. I really don't see the point of it, to be honest.
Virtual memory is actually a really good thing. That's why it was created, because it enables you to have virtually more memory than you need, because some stuff you don't need at the moment. It basically puts it from RAM into hard drive.
You have tons of memory. I don't need a whole pile. I don't really.
Yeah, on my laptop it's 16 gigs. I don't use it at all because I don't need to. But on my old crappy laptop with 3 gigs, I was sure to give it 16 gigs for swap.
Yeah, if you got 16 gigs of RAM on most machines, I wouldn't bother with a swap. Matter of fact, on my main production machine here, most of the time when I install distros on my machine, I don't bother with the swap if I'm manually partitioning. I just skip it. It's just wasted space.
I stopped programming for a moment. When I minimized, it's gone to a swap, so it doesn't actually bother my RAM anymore.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good thing.
Well, I keep looking at
who keeps dropping that pencil
space, because I remember running on a PDP 1173 with 2 megabytes of memory, and we thought that was, who's ever going to exceed that? Yeah. 2 megabytes.
Yeah,
Jesus
2 megabytes
God.
was huge.
Who the hell would run on 2 megabytes of memory? That's the question.
That was way more than what we ever needed too. And I ran
because your operating system was the size of my letter. The amount of RAM you needed for operating system was the same amount I need for a Hello World program.
Yeah, and now you can buy machines with 64 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of RAM. If you got the cash.
I saw a server with it was 512 for 1 terabyte of RAM. I don't remember correctly.
512. Wow, what was that server going for? About 10 grand?
No, I don't know. I believe it was some sort of controlling server. It could be actually in that warehouse I was in with mining rigs. I believe it's actually there. Actually, all it was doing was checking the health of the systems and doing some calculations on stuff. So basically,
hey Big Pod, when you saw that server with 512 gigs of RAM, did you ask them what you need all that RAM for? Kind of like you asked all of us, what you need that RAM for?
I knew why he needed it. The software he was using was quite.
Did you have cooling?
No, he didn't have cooling for RAM because you don't need to cool RAM.
What I absolutely love about today,
RAM coolers,
or this year, is that the old stuff is really kind of coming back. The old games are coming back. The old stuff is coming out. You go on YouTube and you see people sort of picking up old hardware and absolutely loving it. The old Commodore 64 for you Americans, the BBC B for us in the UK, and people are playing games on retro gaming. Retro gaming is sort of huge, absolutely massive, and people are wanting to look back at sort of this kind of stuff, and it's really great. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, I wrote my first application or program at that time on that
asteroids.
God on Commodore 64. Yeah, it has those cassette tapes
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, they're selling.
Store the programs and stuff. Yeah.
You can buy those old, not old. They're remaking them now, like Atari machines with the cartridges and
Only thing old that I actually care about is that old whiskey in my cupboard.
Whiskey doesn't go bad if you store it correctly.
Yeah.
It's
that's why actually. That's actually why I only think, because actually 10 years old or something, I know. I'm not really into whiskey, like what whiskey does and stuff like that. I just do it once in a while.
It's a good 10-year-old whiskey. What you drinking, Macallan or Johnny Walker? What you got?
I'm really Johnny Walker. I don't know. I'm really
It better be Irish.
just
That's the
drinking
best.
it.
You know what? I do love a good Redbreast 12-year-old. Now that you mention Irish whiskey, it's good stuff. I'm a connoisseur of whiskey.
That's the other thing I like. All nice aged wine.
Bushmills. You should try Bushmills. Oldest distillery. Brilliant.
Oh yeah, Bushmills is very common here in the States.
Is it?
Yeah, you see it. You see it in every gas station.
Go from Linux to alcohol?
The point was you have to be drunk sometimes to install Linux.
Yeah.
If you're installing the what's it called, the Gentoo or something like that, you really need
that would make a great live stream. I should do that live one night. Install Gentoo drunk off my ass.
This was my calculator in college.
Oh, that's the calculator.
I think he just threw down. Right there.
Well,
I hate those things. That's why they invented digital calculators and phones.
Yeah, I used to use a slide rule. I remember using it years ago.
The abacus. Then you had your fingers and toes before that.
I'm not that old, Derek.
And hope you have all 10.
I remember I was actually using my fingers when we were trying to learn. I don't know what it's called. I know it's like multiplying from 1 to 10. I don't know. And I couldn't make it for some reason. So from that point on, I bought myself, even though I was really young, all money I had, I put to my parents and said to them, buy me a small calculator. So I could use it at home.
In the chat, Linux Dabbler, the subject transition of Linux to alcohol is pretty seamless. Yeah, it is. It makes sense.
And believe it or not, I was calculating 3 plus 3 on calculator.
Can I ask just a question before everyone hangs up here? It seems that Ubuntu is heading, in their software center, and they really are pushing the snap stroke Flatpak stuff. I hate, I really, really dislike the flat and Snappak stuff. Being an Arch user, that's my opinion. But the trouble is that you don't know what you're getting, because it seems that
here's the
when
thing,
you
though.
download these things, you're getting everything bar the kitchen sink in that.
Yeah,
you mentioned Arch, though. Do you use the AUR in Arch?
Yeah, but it doesn't come with everything by the kitchen sink. But I know what I'm doing. I've been an Arch user since 2008, so I know what I'm getting. And it's only I pick and choose, Derek. I'm very careful.
Well,
about
I do the same thing, but I often install snaps and Flatpaks in Arch
snaps
to avoid the AUR.
Here's my trouble about snaps. They look crap. They take ages to boot up.
Only on GUIs.
What?
Console-based snaps are actually pretty snappy.
Right. If you're talking about server stuff, yeah.
Hey, Derek.
The GUI problem. They're still trying to fix the problems they're having with GUIs using snaps.
What you got, Andy?
Derek, my screen has just gone blank, and I'm not getting it back, so I'm going to have to say goodbye.
Check your cable.
No, it's a laptop.
Oh,
try moving your mice.
I don't know what's happened. I don't have a screensaver enabled, so I'm just going to shut it off.
Press function F4.
F4.
Function F4. Try that.
It won't work.
Maybe it could. I know that works for me.
I think we just.
Yeah, you killed him with function F4. He's
yeah.
Everybody say bye to
F4
Andy. Bye, Andy.
Bye.
Thanks for.
Bye.
Okay.
Hey, but
He might come back.
Snaps are rubbish. I really dislike this.
What's so
whole
bad
snap
with snaps?
They're crap. They're
No,
rubbish.
they're not.
Yeah, they are.
They are containerized.
It depends on what you use them for. What Big Pod mentioned about
Big
server.
Pod. Sorry, I
snaps.
just want to ask Big Pod a question. Do you know what goes into those snaps? Can you see the code? What goes into them?
It's all open source.
No, because I actually don't care for that. Don't care for open source. Don't care for that because I'm not into reading every line of the code because half of it.
No. But you got to understand what dependency. I'm not asking the code, but the dependencies that are actually there
in the container. Is that what you're asking?
You can see what dependencies you need, so you can load them up and pick and choose whatever you want. Within snaps, you can't because you get the whole kabundle right there in front of you, and there are many people that are complaining about it, including Flatpak as well.
I just don't care for dependencies. If the program needs that to work, it needs that to work.
And it looks like rubbish as well.
If I need that software, I will deal with dependencies.
It's sandbox, so it doesn't talk to the system either. Yeah,
that's actually a really good thing. The security is important, if you haven't heard.
Yeah, but he does make a point. I'll give for instance here in support of what Garth says about the sandbox. You install something like OBS as a snap. Certain plugins are not going to work because they require utilizing things outside of this sandbox. Like your Chrome browser or whatever they have.
That's why I always say if you have a sandbox system, you should have some sort of a way to actually to actually unsandbox it. That's actually what only complaint I have with both Flatpak and Snap, that you can't actually unsandbox it except if a developer actually made it unsandboxed by default. That's actually what Snap Classic is all about.
So what I'm actually saying then, Big Pod, is basically at the minute it's not good.
Well, you're right. They don't look good. The theming is off with them. But
Big
Pod,
the theming's terrible.
Yeah, but Big Pod, and I will support him on this. He's right. With like server packages, like if you're setting up a server, a lot of the snap packs for stuff like that are great because
Derek,
right. They work.
But you're not running a GUI. You're not running a desktop environment.
Like
what I normally say, if the tool it works for you, then it works for you. Right. For me, what I get with snaps most of the time works. Right. I'm not going to go to AUR if I can get the same thing with snap. Easy enough.
Like if you wanted to install like a LAMP stack on a server using a snap, it's going to install the Apache server for you, MySQL and PHP, and, because it's all in a container, right?
Everything will be there,
right?
Locked in its own,
and it's great. VM. And you're right. As sandbox, there is a security feature to it.
Yeah,
but that is different than what most people.
I don't have to deal with stuff like privileges and user who can access and stuff like that.
But that's not what I was asking. I was asking what I was actually saying was that Ubuntu based systems, when you go into the their system and ask.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. That's because Canonical makes Snap easy enough.
Yes, well, but you're kind of wanting to say, hang on a second, I don't like Snap. As me, I don't like Snap, so I'd rather have a standard download of a particular app. I don't want to have a Snap or a Flatpak or whatever
Well, my only thing here
are forcing it down your bloody throat.
First of all,
Ubuntu's kind of forcing it. Yeah,
problem.
They are.
Yeah.
If you're in a software center, you definitely don't care about dependency. That's the first thing. Because
I guess I'm thinking about it from somebody.
Can I not just download a dev file? Thank you very much.
Why the hell you would? You're using Linux. You can use a package manager.
Hang on a second. We've been doing it for years. So what's the problem?
That's why you have package managers nowadays.
No. But we've been downloading dev files for it. Even Arch downloads dev files. So what's the problem?
Well, here's the thing, Garth. We're running Arch. I can install, AUR packages. I can compile from source. I can install snaps, Flatpaks, admin. I can do whatever. Choice is good. I don't hate being able to install snaps, even if I didn't want to. I don't think it's
Derek, all I'm saying is that if you go into the Ubuntu Software Center, most of it is snap based, and that's the thing they're pushing.
That's for the new user.
It's canonical made, and it's actually way easier for the new user.
What to do?
Here's the thing:
most people who will use Software Center are new people, because
Garth,
all
when you
those
use
who are knowledgeable
just a second, Big Pod,
use command line.
Garth, when you use Ubuntu, you probably like me. Do you just fire up a terminal and sudo apt install whatever you want? Yeah.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter. I mean, we're not installing snaps anyway.
Here's my other problem, Derek. If you get a new user who is going into Linux, who's come across from either Mac or Windows, and gets these snap packages, they go, "Oh, brilliant! Everything's there installed." But it doesn't look great. It looks like shit. I'm serious. It does look like crap.
But does the app work?
Standard theme.
Because they don't theme, because they're sandboxed, and because they don't theme.
It has a standard its own theme. Even on Windows, you don't have a theming across the whole system, like across all programs.
One thing you gotta
Windows are used to that.
One thing you got to understand about the snaps in the Ubuntu Software Center too, a lot of those are proprietary software.
Yeah.
And it's important for new users to be able to get that stuff on Ubuntu. Yeah. It's not going to be in the Ubuntu repos. Only free software is in the repos. And a lot of people, a lot of new users, Windows and Mac users, are going to want Spotify and Discord and all these non-free programs. There's a snap at least for them to get that. Without those snap packages, it might be a little tougher to get some of that.
But then it takes up a whole pile of gigabytes when you download the damn
It does.
thing.
It takes more space.
Yeah, but why? Again, that's the question. Why would you care about space if you have 1, 2
Yeah, but say you don't.
Drive?
Say you have a 250 gigabyte hard drive. You're going to fill that up. Sorry, SSD hard drive, and you're going to fill that up pretty quickly.
First one, semantic error. It's not SSD hard drive, it's just SSD because hard drive said it had a spinning planet, spinning Rust.
Semantic error.
He's right. That's technicality. He's right.
Technicality.
Semantic error.
But he makes a point about the storage. The storage, especially, most normal programs are not a big deal, but eventually games. You're going to start installing games as a snap, and those things are going to be like 50 gigs, 80 gig, and it's going to be huge.
The bandwidth most of the time aren't problem because in games, most of the size are the images, the actual 4K data, because normally each game has 1080p, 720p, and 4K image, data image, so it can actually, without any processing, display these 3 standard definitions, resolutions.
Well, I don't think we're going to get anywhere on Snap and Flatpak and App Image, so I just briefly want to say, Tim, how's it going?
Hi, Tim.
I was in the midst of watching the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh yeah.
Play, the New England Patriots, and I got kind of sick of that. And I was listening to this in the background, and somebody said something about the transition from Linux to alcohol is pretty.
Oh yeah, we talked about whiskey for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that was Derek's fault.
I'm doing great, but today I have to say this: in my home state of Minnesota, we got snowed on like there was no tomorrow, and the only thing I can say is, Derek, you remember the film The Blues Brothers?
Yeah.
When they're playing at Bob's Country Bunker and they get done wrapping up their show, Bob comes up and says, "Okay, the show paid $300, but you guys drank $400 worth of beer." Okay, today I did 3 hours pushing a snowblower, and I needed a 4-hour nap.
Yeah.
So
that's the way I feel most of the time. I feel like I need a 25-hour day most
We
days.
started talking about alcohol because before that we were having discussions about Windows. So
yeah,
that made us do it.
And here I show up, and I didn't bring my frying pan there.
If I'm ever able to meet any of you guys in person, we'll share a glass or a bottle of some fine 18-year Scotch whiskey.
White Lightning, come on.
Or Irish whiskey if you are.
It's Irish.
White light. I like Joe. I like Joe's idea. I like Joe's idea. If you can't drink it out of a mason jar, why drink it?
You know what though?
Before
I do not discriminate when it comes.
Once in my life, just the smell would have done it to me. Would not. So.
You know what? I'm fine with bourbon, Scotch, Irish whiskey. Even the Japanese whiskeys are fantastic. You had any of those award-winning Japanese whiskeys in the past couple of years? Anyway,
Derek, one thing I actually would recommend to you guys: try Bosnian rakia.
Who?
Rakia from Bosnia.
Rakia. Is that the?
It's actually Serbian.
Serbian, Bosnian, whatever you actually, it's a big problem. Like, it's like
whatever, Bosnia, Serbia,
Bosnia, Serbia, whatever.
Is that a whiskey or a liqueur?
No,
it's
I know Turkey has. Is it similar to the Raki in Turkey?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is.
So that, along with a Vegemite sandwich, you're set.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
No, Marmite. Marmite's even better.
Yeah, Marmite's good stuff, huh?
Marmite's great.
Yeah, we should do a Marmite challenge.
Vegemite's horrible.
DT,
maybe I'll use Vegemite as a thermal paste. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it on your CPU. Keep it cool.
Rakia is a type of fruit brandy.
I thought it was a liqueur.
Yeah. I haven't seen the chat.
But here are quite strong ones.
Derek, did you order stuff from that website we were talking about on Tassa's stream the other night?
I was going to if it could have got here quick enough, but they said the shipping time was at least 14 days from Australia.
And you were trying to beat Christmas.
But I did find some alternative kangaroo scrotum bottle openers on Amazon, and I could second day ship them. So I may.
Oh boy!
Hey Derek.
Yes, sir.
Derek, the dinner bell has rung here, so I've got to go.
Oh, you're back.
I'm back.
He's going.
I don't know why the screen. I don't know why the screen went totally blank, because otherwise it was running. It was probably a system D stop job that went crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'll see you all another time.
Take care.
All right, thanks, Andy. We'll see.
System D.
Was he running Windows? I didn't get
Zoom or maybe internet or anything like that, right? It's always the distro fault.
It's always
blame it on System D.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, or Pulse Audio. Even though Pulse Audio didn't have anything to do with the display, just blame it on Pulse Audio.
I got to go watch the fourth quarter of this rather disappointing football game. We'll see how it goes.
I hope it works out for you, Tim.
And keep all that white stuff up there by you.
What's that, Joe?
Keep all that white stuff up there by you. We got some, but not too bad. Just enough to cover the grass.
Hey,
the closest official report that I got.
Do any of you Americans watch English football?
I do.
Nah.
I used to like to play soccer.
Joe, closest town.
It's football. It's not soccer. It's football.
Oh, it's actual football.
That's the proper name. You guys got it wrong, because the foot goes to the ball.
Yeah. It's football, not soccer.
It's not hand stuff.
See, we have to change everything, right?
Like metric system versus
British. Use metric system. It's way better.
No, we don't. We actually use the imperial system as well.
You know what? But because we're fans of American football, we would prefer something like rugby over soccer.
Yeah.
That's true.
You've seen rugby?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know how I first learned that the difference that football was different over there overseas in the UK was when I was watching Mrs. Doubtfire. That's how I learned about it.
Mrs. Doubtfire. That's a classic there.
Yeah.
Just don't force us to watch cricket, please.
Oh, cricket
is.
I love cricket.
Yeah.
Cricket's brilliant.
Aren't those guys usually?
It's
aren't
not
those,
like your baseball at all.
aren't most of the guys in cricket? I mean, the only reason they get together to play that full game is just to drink like pigs.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly,
yeah.
I mean,
I would agree with that. Yeah,
I've heard that cricket teams will go through. How many players are there on a cricket team that actually play the game? I know there's a bunch that show up and drink a lot, but how many people are?
Yeah, tons.
I don't know any of these sports. I only watch football. What we call football. I watch handball, volleyball, and that's it. Okay, some individual sports like skiing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But team sports, those three.
Well, I'm going to go catch the end of this football game. I just wanted to stop in and say hi.
All right.
Good to see you, Vikings, even though I live in Connecticut. So
go watch your handball stuff.
Handball. Hey, Garth. Hey, Garth, buddy, I got 2 words for you, and they ain't let's dance.
Okay.
Gentlemen, you take care of yourselves. Be safe.
You take care.
We can watch Canadian football and have those 10 extra yards in there.
That is true. I've never understood why your field is a little bigger.
Yeah.
It has to match their currency difference, I think.
Right.
Catch up. It makes you wonder, is it actually, if you had to physically measure it, would it really physically be bigger? I wonder, because of the denomination differences. I'm not saying that to be smart. I'm just curious because
asking.
Isn't it also wider? I think the field is wider.
Sorry, what field are we talking about?
We'd have to Google that.
Are we talking about rugby or are we talking about football?
We're talking about American football, but as played in Canada, they use a different kind of field.
Right, okay.
They use a slightly different.
They have 2 50-yard lines.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You can't have 2 midfields. Midfield is midfield, right?
Yeah,
you can't have 2 points that are both midfield.
Has anyone seen the Irish hurling?
Hurling? No, I haven't.
Yeah, you haven't seen it, Derek. I beg you to go on YouTube and see the most dangerous sport in the world. And it's basically hockey sticks in the air, and it's really bad. And people get absolutely annihilated, and then they get really aggressive as well. So look at Irish hurling. Seriously,
I'll check that out. I like hockey. If it's anything like hockey, I don't mind watching hockey.
I was going to say, are you talking about
It's a hockey ball in the air, so they hit the ball in the air like that, like almost like a cricket bat or your sort of baseball, and it's running around a field with a ball that's hit at 100 miles an hour towards you. It's absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
Only the Irish would do something.
Well, this is strictly for the humor factor. When you say Irish hurling, I was going to say, are you talking about a field or a pub?
No, it's a field. Honestly, it's a game, and they take it really seriously. Yeah, it's really, really dangerous. People died because of this game. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, it almost sounds like American baseball when you think about it.
No. It's even worse. It's 100.
But it's closer contact. Yeah,
sounds more like lacrosse.
Cricket is actually more dangerous
Dangerous,
than
yeah.
baseball, and hurling is 100 times more dangerous than any of the other ones.
You know, again, I don't know anything you're talking about. I'm not a sports guy at all.
No, oddly enough, you know what sport kills more people every year than you wouldn't think about. Not like the most, but more people die playing basketball, oddly enough, due to cardiac issues. Strangely enough, because of the extreme cardiac nature.
I always thought it was
people drop dead playing
playing.
basketball. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially kids, believe it or not, too.
Yep.
We have that happen. Maybe 16-year-olds just dropped dead on the court.
They just drop dead right on the court. Yeah, you hear all the time. You know.
Anybody from Dallas or somewhere like that? That could
What
be
was that?
watching. Anyone from Dallas or somewhere close to that could be watching basketball and seen in Dallas Mavericks Doncic.
Yeah.
I used to live in Austin, but I don't live anywhere.
I actually used to live in Dallas. I used to live. I lived.
Check Dallas player named Doncic.
I love Texas to the nth degree. In fact, I would walk out this door and live in Texas tomorrow.
Yeah, it was all right.
I love Texas. It's brilliant.
I don't miss the traffic. Well, Dallas Fort Worth was, you know.
Yeah,
I did
absolutely terrible.
I didn't like taking a 2-hour trip to go home.
Oh, guys, you have nothing on Boston where they chase the pedestrians back up on the curb where they belong.
Yeah, you got to keep them in their place. My thing in Dallas too, when I lived there, you know, the freeways there and the interstates and all, they were always under construction. I never saw a freeway there that wasn't under. It was always, and you know, and it was just traffic at a standstill. And I lived there 2 years. I never saw where you just had an open stretch of road and you could drive. There were always lanes closed.
The only reason I know Dallas exists is because of a Slovenian basketball player.
Yes.
That started playing there.
Yep.
Luka Doncic. He's like, I believe 18 or 19. He's like one of the best players in NBA now.
Yeah, but that's most of the players in the well, not most, but a lot of the players in the NBA are European. Yeah.
Yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah.
He
Basketball
started
is
this year, and that's how I learned about Dallas.
So, what do most people think of Ubuntu as of now? Do we hate it, like it? Is it any better than it was?
Indifferent. That's my opinion. Whatever. I take it or leave it. If I had to run it, I could run it. I'm not excited about it. You know.
What are you using, Derek? What's your base system?
Discussion.
What's my basis on that is, if I was going to run Ubuntu as it ships, I'm not a fan of the GNOME desktop in general, but I'm not a fan of what they're shipping as the GNOME desktop. You know, it's just, yeah.
There's too many. Actually, there's too many GNOME desktops. I mean, there's System 76's Pop OS. There's Ubuntu itself, and then there's GNOME. And people are going, "What GNOME desktop do I use if I'm going to go with a GNOME desktop?" It's kind of weird. They're all very different in that they behave slightly differently to what you get.
Pop OS.
You're using Pop OS. Oh my god! Right? Okay.
Pop OS has more tweaks to it.
No. I want to ask Derek this. So, what do you think of Pop OS?
Pop
You
OS.
obviously like it.
It's not bad. I don't mind their version of GNOME. I don't like the version of Pop OS 18.10 that's based on Ubuntu 18.10.
Right. Why? What's changed?
I don't like the fact that, well, on the laptop it wouldn't matter. On my desktop, you don't have NVENC support. There's no NVENC.
Jesus, what?
Yes. In in Ubuntu 18.10, you also don't have it. So it's actually because it's based on 18.10.
Why have they dropped NVENC?
I don't know. It was there in 1804. It's not in.
You have to install some package. I don't know what.
I don't know. I couldn't figure it out.
It should be there.
Yeah.
It should be there.
Yeah. I don't want to compile FFmpeg. So
it's no need to compile it. Some packages actually in apt repositories. I don't know what's called.
Well, I would love to know it because I couldn't figure it out.
Search that in the chat.
Thank God. There should be, you know, if you're using Ubuntu, you shouldn't have to compile stuff.
You don't need to compile. It's in repositories. You just need to install it. You just need to press.
No,
yeah, maybe it's there.
To look around for it. It should be there. Period. End of.
Well, the version of FF.
That's the whole point of Ubuntu. It shouldn't be for like people like me who love to compile stuff, who like to use Gentoo, who like to use Arch, who like to sort around stuff. But in Ubuntu, you should have NVENC, you should have all the stuff there because that's the way it's supposed to be.
One question. Why do you like compiling stuff?
All of a sudden, they've dropped it. So you shouldn't have to hunt around for it.
One question. Why do you love compiling stuff?
Why do you love it?
I love doing stuff. Because I love tinkering.
It depends on the distro. Yeah.
Hell, I don't want to touch compiling with.
No, but you're getting away from the point. The point is Ubuntu. You should have NVENC.
No, I'm asking you generally why you love.
It should be there.
Compiling.
Period. End of.
And it
as it was in the past. 1804. It was there.
It is probably something to do with the way drivers install, but okay.
Now, the problem is 1810 ships a version of FFmpeg that was built without NVENC. Yeah. FFmpeg in 1810 does not have NVENC, so I would have to go get a different I would have to build my own FFmpeg.
Exactly, there. Yeah.
Kpax, one question. Really, why you like compiling stuff? Because I'm a programmer, and every time I have to compile something, I just go running because I hate compiling.
Because I like to build my own stuff. That's why. But I do that because that's me and because that's what I like to do.
It also depends. Yeah. It also depends. Some people need to build a package with certain flags enabled.
Yep.
So that is why you would build your own, why you compile a specific version of something.
Ubuntu shouldn't have done this, Derek. I mean, honestly, it's ridiculous.
Right, and user-friendly distro like Ubuntu should ship a package like FFmpeg with everything.
Yeah.
They should just compile it with everything.
Exactly, correct. Yeah.
Well, I actually have a server just because compiling, so I don't need to see anything about compiling. I just push it to the VCS and it just goes to that server and compile.
No, big Paul, you're missing something. We didn't say you'd have to compile. All we're saying is that the package of NVENC is missing from the likes of OBS or whatever.
Right. Yeah,
that's run because OBS within 1810, then you don't have NVENC compatibility. So it should be there within Ubuntu. And it should be because it's there within 1804.
Well,
it should be, but that's also a choice of developers and Ubuntu people.
Well, it is a choice of the Ubuntu devs, but I also think because NVENC is proprietary and maybe there's some licensing issues, maybe that's why they ship with FFmpeg without NVENC.
Yeah,
which I think is
proprietary.
But to Garth's point, they shipped it in 1804. It was there in 1804. So 6 months later, they don't want to ship it. So.
DT, just a question. From where did you install drivers for Nvidia card?
Depending on the distro.
If you need to ask that question, there is no point to this because it is Ubuntu. You install Ubuntu, you get what you want, and you have it all there for you. And
just asking because you could have installed if you didn't install it from the PPA, you might because of that don't have anything because
I didn't try the PPA in Ubuntu. I just installed the standard drivers and the driver tool.
Maybe because of that there is no NVINC support because I know there is a PPA which has newest drivers and full support for them. So maybe NVINC can be found there.
Yeah,
it is because I just looked just for the heck of it in my Synaptic. I searched NVINC and all my drivers list came up, and even the current ones. And 4.15 is a beta, and all of them are showing NVINC in there.
Yeah, but this is the problem. It should be there.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I mean, depending on the distro you're using, like for example, with Fedora 29 or any of the Fedoras.
But Fedora is not for a new user. This is
that's true. No, so the point is taken that
neither is Arch, neither is So leave those distributions behind. So we're talking about Ubuntu. Ubuntu should have all of this there, as they had in 1804. All of a sudden, there is no NVINC support as of 1810. So what the hell's happened? Why have they taken it away?
I have found out something with FFmpeg didn't want to ship with the NVINC support. You need to use NVINC codec headers, something with FFmpeg.
So they haven't sorted this out.
They didn't want to ship with.
So they haven't sorted out FFmpeg in the first place.
Basically, guys who develop FFmpeg decided they don't want to ship on Ubuntu with the with NVINC.
So why do I get it supported in Arch when I have more superior FFmpeg than even bloody Ubuntu?
I don't know.
It's going to have to do with licensing. Is usually what this.
How developers choose. Basically, on Ubuntu, they chose they don't want
also
in their base FFmpeg. If you want to have FFmpeg,
I'll tell you what the problem is, Garth.
Or install
well, then they should point that out and make sure that people don't get scared away from doing something. You know,
the reason Ubuntu is going to be more careful about things like that due to licensing issues is because there's an actual corporation behind it. You know, somebody could actually get sued. Who are you going to sue Arch over a package that's, you know, it's just a community, right? So that's why they have skin in the game, right? So
all right, so why can Fedora do it then? Which is kind of
actually a bit more leeway,
which is also kind of a corporation.
Probably somewhere because Red Hat, who is technically behind the
Fedora is actually like up there. In fact, Fedora's way ahead of. It's kind of like Arch almost. It follows the
more of a bleeding edge.
Yeah, it's very bleeding edge. Fedora is.
It is very bleeding edge. So how can Fedora get away with it and Ubuntu can't?
Well, maybe they talked to their lawyers and decided it was worth it. So it's.
Probably
usually there's a legal team involved in these decisions, though. I mean, no joke. Canonical and Red Hat, they're going to.
It's called Red Hat, which is the huge corporation of Red Hat that has.
Right.
Yeah, that thing behind is important, not just who does it, but what is behind it. Even if people develop it, doesn't mean who actually the boss of everything.
Yeah.
That guy is actually who's important.
The boss is important. The one that's writing the checks, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're coming up on the end of 2 hours here, so let's get a last word from everybody, and we'll shut it down for the evening. So, Chris, send us out, sir. Chris, you still there?
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm still here. I'm just past minute or so, I've been dealing with some over usage on the CPU. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I think it's Dropbox that's causing the problem. But anyway, great seeing you guys, and hope to see you next week.
All right, thanks, Chris. And speaking of Dropbox, next week we should talk a little bit about Dropbox. I've been having some issues with Dropbox. I'm looking for alternatives. Maybe next time we do one of these chats, we'll discuss some of that.
Only alternative, Nextcloud.
Well, we'll discuss that. So, Garth, give us a last word.
Derek, thanks. I joined sort of midway through, I think. I came in under the radar.
Snuck in.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. And talking to you lot, unbelievable, fabulous. And I want to thank you as the host. Fabulous, brilliant, and good night.
Thank you. All right, Big Pod, you got a last word for us, sir?
Thanks for the stream, as always. And that's all I want to say.
that is the shortest sentence you've said all night.
I actually thought I had something else to say, but I don't.
Now save it for next week. There'll be more.
We'll talk later.
All right, Robert, give us a last word, sir.
So I know you wanted to give an update on Fedora 29 this week, because I was having major video and audio issues last week.
Yeah.
I think I've got those fixed. Was running into issues installing Fedi, but apparently there's a post for those that are interested in being able to wget make install the Fedi package, and it works, and it adds a lot of versatility to Fedora. So you may want to check that out. And guys, great conversation in chat. Definitely great conversation. To see in the comments.
Yeah,
Robert forgot to say nice headphones.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I didn't discuss Fedora too much, but Fedora 29 has been working great for me. You got to install all those extra repos, though. The what is it? The RPM Fusion. I also did the United RPM repo. All those, and then you've got access to all the goodies that you need. All right, Joe, give us the last word.
Well, I was listening to you guys for a while. I was doing something in the other room across the hall over there, and thought I'd finally come in and just dress up your set a little bit and, make you look a little bit better there, Derek. So, but no, anyway, thanks you guys for hanging out like this. It's always fun. So always look forward to it.
You had the stream on. You were in another room. You heard all the screaming and yelling. You figured you'd come check it out.
Well, I wouldn't call it screaming and yelling, but it does get a little boisterous. No, just
yeah, but that's the way we do it over here,
right? It's called passion for what this is. So. Anyway,
never a dull moment.
No, it's always fun.
All right, thanks, Joe. All right, and of course, before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout out. Ansem, Carlos, Chris, David, Leo, Rob, Tony. These guys, they're the producers of the show. Also brought to you by all those fine ladies and gentlemen, all the supporters of the channel over on Patreon. You will find me at DistroTube over on Patreon. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Peace, guys.
See ya.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.